with Lady D today. I'm your host, Lady D. Be a guest on. Well, welcome to What's Going On with Lady D today. And we have a special guest in the house. Today's guest is an activist, a poet, and mental health advocate whose work and words are inspiring change in our community. So we welcome Rosegold Carter. How are you doing today?
I am feeling powerful, Lady D. Thank you. How are you?
I am awesome. I'm warm. I'm warm.
Yes. Quite
Wait
the
a minute.
warm up.
I'm hot compared to what was and has been. So how's everything going for you?
Excellent. I have no complaints.
Excellent. So I would like to start off with you telling our listeners, give us the tea on who Rosegold Carter is.
Rosegold
Where are you
Carter.
from?
I'm from Shaker Heights, Ohio, born and raised.
Okay.
I was born at Mount Sinai Hospital, which is now closed.
Okay.
I have 6 other siblings, including an identical twin named Jennifer Love, who I love dearly. Spoken word artist, activist. I show up for people. I'm a community builder. I'm a lover. I'm a fighter. I'm a writer.
Ooh, so exciting, so exciting. So, can you tell us a little bit about what has inspired you to become an activist?
Definitely my grandparents. They were part of the civil rights movement and they lived in Alabama.
Okay.
So every Saturday they used to play Mahalia Jackson and then Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Both of my parents were in the union. My dad was president of the APWU for quite some years. His name was Roland Carter.
Okay.
And I remember him taking us to see Mandela. So he was involved in the community and we were raised on leadership principles.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So now I know that you're an activist and you're a poet and you deal with mental health. So I would like to ask, how long have you been doing poetry?
Secretly, I've been a poet all my life.
Okay.
It was about 3 years ago, I feel like, that I had Vince Robinson gave me the opportunity to perform as a featured poet. I don't know how he found out about me. I've done a few open mics.
Okay.
But I was at a point where I didn't consider I said I'm a writer. I said I'm not a writer, I just write. But I had a transformative event where I hung out with some Virgos and we had a cipher and I'd never done one before. And there was a lot of talented artists in the room, like Ollie Boyd, Wolfgar Darkenwell Jr., Shaka Hasbury, and they're like professionals, and I am not, right? I write, but I'm not a writer.
Okay.
And I love music, and I participated, and I was like, actually, I'm really good at this.
Okay.
And I had a goal. I said that in 2022, I wrote it in my journal. I said that I want to be able to perform my own set of poetry, and that's exactly what I did. Because I had the vision, I had the dream, and I had the tenacity.
Wonderful. So now may I ask, did you take any particular courses or was this just something naturally that came for you, the writing aspect of, doing poetry?
I've always been a writer. I was an English major in college.
Okay.
So the actual spoken word aspect of it, I've always been an orator. When I went to Mount Hermon Church.
Okay.
And because my grandmother was on the Mother's Board and my grandfather was a trustee, we were expected to be leaders as well. So we always had Christmas speeches and Easter speeches. Everybody else got to read theirs and they were nice and short. Jennifer and I were competing for the longest one and they always had to be memorized.
I see, I see. So you come from a nice lineage of history, people in your family to keep you motivated and give you the broaden your horizon, shall I say.
Mm-hmm.
So now the activist part, what are you advocating?
Right now it's mental health and then trauma recovery.
Let's talk about that.
So, well, the first part with mental health, About 1 in 4 people will struggle with a mental health issue or mental illness.
Okay.
And there's a lot of stigma still regarding mental health, especially in the Black community. But the thing is that we are a highly traumatized community, so we're going to struggle with our mental health. And to eradicate and to improve and strengthen our communities, we need to start seriously addressing mental health in a meaningful manner and also engage in trauma recovery. What I like to explain is that we all went through a collective traumatizing experience during the COVID. There weren't any stop loss techniques employed to stop the psychiatrists and social workers and therapists who were leaving at really high rates. There was no additional funding, but people were traumatized. And we need to change things like that. We need to address our trauma.
So, do you think that people are still traumatized behind COVID? And this has been some years now.
Yes. And that's the thing about trauma, though, is that I have an easier time recognizing trauma in someone else than I do in myself, right? So I know people, it affects the way they interact with people. We still don't know the way. I worked with school age children last year, and we still don't know the way that impacted their development, being out of school for so long, especially the younger kids, the social aspect that they needed, the connection, the physical touch. They love to hug and touch each other.
Right,
We
right.
still don't know how they've been impacted.
Yeah, because being online, learning classes, you miss something. I think I'm an in-person person,
Ditto.
so I like to be there. I like to touch and feel. I still am gonna hold a book because I like to bend the page and highlight
Thank
it.
you. I do too.
Please, I will always have books.
Ditto.
You know, I think that's important, and we need that. Pictures, it's not the same as having it in your hand versus looking at it on a screen.
It's not.
So now, what are some of the signs that that we could look for as far as a child is being trauma?
Um, Anger.
Okay.
I had a child. She was one of my brawlers. She was a fighter when I first met her, and I was asking a question if they knew who. Who did I ask? If they knew who Maya Angelou was, and they didn't know, and I explained who Maya Angelou was, and I really connected with them through poetry. But she was my one girl. She was just a fighter, and I asked who the president was, who's the first Black president, and they named somebody. It was a female. I said no, but the first Black female president could be you if you stop fighting so much.
Okay.
By the end of the year, we had a conversation. She sat next to me and she confided in me that her uncle had actually passed away in jail
Okay.
months prior, and she just found out about it. And she said, Miss Rosegold, why didn't my mommy tell me? And I said, probably because she didn't know how to tell you, right? She was probably still struggling with it herself. But behavioral issues. Kids who haven't experienced trauma are generally happy kids. Kids who aren't, they have a hard time sitting still, emotionally regulating themselves.
Okay.
They're prone to outbursts, crying spells, anxiety, things that kids just should not be expressing.
So, what could one do to help a child that is going through something like that, or you see this happening in your home? And a lot of parents they are not informed.
Hmm.
Where's the resources? Where could they go to get help?
They can always dial number 9 hashtag 988.
Okay.
It's called the Suicide Prevention and Crisis Line, and it does provide resources. There's also the Adams Board. They can go online as well to search for local resources. But what they want to do is notice any change of behavior in their child,
Okay.
and also listen to their child as well.
Okay.
I grew up in a household where I was told that children should be seen and not heard, and that's not healthy, right?
Yes. Yeah.
These are little humans, and we need to treat them as such and validate their feelings.
Yes.
And if we're feeling that the work that we're doing isn't enough to help them, then there isn't any shame in admitting that and taking them to a therapist. I think even the most well-adjusted person can benefit from therapy.
And what about an adult?
Adults, same thing, change of behavior. Are they being short and snappy where they weren't being short and snappy before?
Mm-hmm.
Are they complaining about trouble sleeping? Is there significant change in their work habits, their hygiene?
Okay. So all of these are signs to take in consideration of something's going on.
Are they sleeping too much or too little? Change in appetite.
Okay. That's really important. Now, I know also I wanted to ask you so mental health is such an important topic, but how did you become a certified mental health first aider? And
I,
what is a first aider?
So what we do is we assist people in having conversations about mental health.
Okay.
Like we notice that there's been a change, there's been a significant change that's making us concerned, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I saw it and I was like, I want to do it. And the first year I couldn't do it because I don't drive and it was out too far.
Okay.
Then COVID hit, so they were doing it virtual.
Okay.
And then it's only 4 hours.
All right.
It's free. I would encourage anyone.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so I took the course, 4 hours on Zoom, and I use it. I use it a lot, actually. I just used it last week.
Okay. That's good to know. So now let's get into something exciting
Yes.
because you're always doing fun stuff. And I know we share a special place in our
Yes,
community called
we
the
do.
Umbar Cafe.
Yes.
And at the Umbar Cafe, it's a lot of wonderful people that come there and we network.
Yes.
And the Umbar is always having fun events and things for us to get involved in. The Umbar University,
Yes.
which is such a great learning experience. Thank you, Dr. Adam Banks.
Yes,
But you do something special on Monday nights.
I do.
Let's tell our listeners about that Monday night.
I co-host Unbothered with Melissa Hirsch Garrett, and we're basically focused on mental health, well-being, holistic approach. We do Reiki, sound bowls. We have discussions as well. It's really an opportunity for community to come together and connect with one another.
Okay.
Connection is really important for our quality of lives. Brene Brown said that our brain is naturally hardwired for connection. So that's something the pandemic did as well, is it isolated us. And a lot of people struggle because we need to feel connected. And that's another way that we recover from trauma is being able to come together and go to events like Unbothered or Unbarred University, right?
Right.
That actually having that community, it helps us. And then one day, a trauma informed therapist actually came up to me and said, "What you guys are doing is brilliant." She said, "Because I can get people to maybe come to 3 or 4 sessions, but they stop showing up because people need to heal from trauma in a community." And that makes sense.
And knowing that this is a safe space and it's okay because we're sharing, and that is what makes it such a beautiful thing because nobody's perfect and we all have situations and issues and life happens.
It does.
And so it's always good to be able to have someone to be able to talk to and and be comfortable about it. What time is your Unbother on Mondays?
It is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, awesome. And then I know there's other events. Is there something else that's going on Mondays here?
There's Tai Chi and Zumba as well.
Okay, yes. So those follow after you or before?
We run concurrently.
And how long have you been doing this at the Umber?
We started in November 11th, actually. 11/11 is when we had our first Unbothered.
Uh-huh.
And it was in partnership with BTIC, the Buckeye Trauma Informed Coalition,
Okay.
which I'm the originator of.
Okay.
Because after the election, people were completely spiraling. I admit I did spend the next day, Wednesday, in bed. Then on Thursday, I got on the phone with Jennifer Love, my twin, and Robert O'Neill, who's our lead practitioner, and we talked about our feelings, and we said, "But what are we going to do about it?" I said, and Robert was like, "We're going to do an Unbothered. When are we going to do it? Should we do it Wednesday? No, we should just shoot for Monday." We put it together in 4 days, and we had a nice turnout.
That's awesome.
People really needed that.
Yeah. And it's a great way to start the week off too.
It really is.
You know, because you've coming off the weekend and now you've got the beginning of the week, and now you can just woosah.
Go home with positive energy.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And positive, being positive is so important because actually it's healthy for you. It's healthy for you. So besides um, writing, what else would you give advice to?
Give advice to?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, let's see. What subject do I like to speak on? Oh, the importance of vulnerability.
Okay.
Because I've been learning that recently. Because I don't consider myself to be a person who really likes to show vulnerability.
Right.
I've been doing a lot of reading though on vulnerability, and vulnerability is the way that we connect with one another. So it really is important to have vulnerability in your life.
And that is not a sign of weakness.
It is not a sign of weakness.
So it's
no.
okay to be vulnerable.
And it's okay to cry.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
And to feel what you're feeling, because feelings buried alive do not die. And I've been through a lot of trauma. And through the summer, I worked at Kane Park. It was a lovely experience the summer before.
Okay.
That job opportunity wasn't available. I was sitting there outside of Umbar, and I'm like, what am I going to do next?
Right.
And the universe said, I didn't tell you to do anything next. You just need to be still. And that's what I did the entire summer. I was just still, and I processed a lot of trauma. It was painful. It was uncomfortable. I got angry. I got frustrated, but I got through it. And I'm a lot better because I did take the time to just sit there and feel what I'm feeling, because feelings buried alive do not die. They show up in other ways, health issues,
Right.
right?
Right.
Autoimmune diseases.
Right.
So you have to deal with your feelings. You start getting short and reactive.
It's better to have it out than to have it in.
Definitely.
Okay. So now if someone wanted to reach out to you and just have a one-on-one consultation, do you offer that?
I really don't like promote it and say, hey, you can come talk to me.
Okay.
But people just naturally know they can come talk to me.
Okay.
And I really love that people consider me that trustworthy, because it does take a lot of trust to say some of the things that they've told me.
Yes.
But of course, if it's a season 2 where I know people tend to struggle, I'll say, if you need help, you can just hit me up on Messenger.
Okay.
I'll do my best I can to assist you.
Okay. What's that information? Give them that information, because you never know. We have a lot of viewers, and people like to be secretive. So give them that information, Rose.
Well, you can hit me up on Instagram. I am Rose_Gold3333.
Great. Now, how can people in Cleveland get beyond or get involved in your work and benefit from the programs and sessions that you have to offer?
Well, we are building up the infrastructure of BTIC right now. Certainly invite anybody to come out to Unbothered. I also attend Neighbor Up meetings.
Okay, now what is that?
It's a community organization, and we have meetings and we do action items. So they're actually responsible for getting Huntington Bank to come back and honor their commitment to the Buckeye community. So, and that's how the idea for BTIC came up. The origin story is September 14th, 2022.
Okay.
I witnessed a police standoff against my neighbor, Shaka Hasbury, and his then 12-year-old son.
Okay.
And it lasted for about 4 hours.
Wow.
And they just pulled off, no buy or leave. And I was traumatized, right? I still pass this house just about every day.
Okay.
I said, this is wrong. We need to have a way to process this as a community.
Okay.
And so once I realized we didn't have that need, we just kept having these conversations. So we're working on programming so that people can benefit this. And we'll be getting a webpage and everything together. And I'll be sharing that information on my Instagram.
That'll be awesome. Now, you're a poet. I would like for you to do a little something for our listeners.
Okay, let's see. Okay. This one is called How Dare We?
Okay.
How dare we remain undefeated? There is no reason for a season of grieving. The North Star that guided Harriet Tubman to lead people out of slavery, that burning bush that Moses saw, it's called a theophany. That thing that caused Martin Luther King to have a dream. We all have access to that same entity. Set your affections on things above. Do your best to be the embodiment of love. Stay connected to those with higher vibrations. Black power, love is enough to change nations. We are above retreat. They not like us. How dare we? Poem.
Awesome.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Awesome. You do poetry shows up at the Bar as well.
Yes, Gerard is actually the host.
Okay.
It's on. Why am I blanking on the name? It'll come to me.
That's fine.
But it's every other Friday.
Okay.
It's called Umbard, and it's every other Friday.
Okay.
Usually starts around 8 p.m.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
I also do open mics around the city. I love Poetry Unplugged and the People Poetry Slam.
Now, let's talk about spoken word.
Yes.
How did spoken word come about? Give us a little tea on spoken word.
So there are a lot of like moving definitions,
Okay.
but people say that spoken word is usually written with the audience in mind, right? But when I write my poetry, I don't write it with an audience. I don't write it to perform. I write it on 3 levels. I do write it to be read, to be listened to be seen, and also for actually to be felt. I like for people to be able to escape for a few minutes through my poetry.
Do you have a favorite poet?
Oh,
And if you do, tell us why.
it would probably be I have Maya Angelou, a phenomenal woman.
Yes.
Phenomenal woman, that's me. And then Amiri Baraka Leroy Jones,
Okay.
because he started off as a beat writer. I took a beat class. It was a really interesting kind of underground movement.
Now, what is a beat class?
Beatnik is kind of like around the 1940s and 50s. They were a subculture, like Jack Kerouac, On the Road. They lived a very alternative lifestyle. They engaged in a lot of recreational activities. A lot of them were artists. And they just formed a community that became its own culture and kind of genre.
Right.
And he also wrote during the Black Power movement as well. So I like seeing him transform and then also just have such a diverse array of content.
I want to ask, do you see the Black Power movement coming back?
I absolutely do. And I actually think that Cleveland is in a renaissance period as well. Actually. And this is the reason why I'm wearing this shirt.
That's why I looked at the shirt and I'm like, justice. And, I'm seeing more of that. I think we're getting more in finding and getting educated and involved in more of our blackness and wanting to pass down the stories and keep our history alive. Because Black history is not just in February.
No, it's not. It's every day, all day.
Yes, and so we have great stories to tell and share with our family and friends, and I think it should continue.
I believe in the power of storytelling.
Yes.
And a lot of my poems, I tell a story as well.
Okay.
I think stories are important. I think the oral tradition is important as well.
Yeah. So because I know we talked about it on Saturday at one of Dr. Banks' classes, sessions we had, and going all the way back to slavery time. And this is how we want to keep those stories alive and not let them pass off.
Definitely.
And we create new stories each and every day.
We do.
Yes, indeed. So please give our listeners where they can find you at, the time and dates, and how long is the Unbothered going to go for?
We are going to be doing it for the foreseeable future every Monday.
Every Monday.
This Monday we won't have one because I do have a neighbor up meeting.
Okay.
And we'll be doing some BTIC work. But every Monday, 6 to 8 p.m. I'm typically at open mics. I do People Poetry Slam and Poetry Unplugged a lot.
Okay.
I would love to get booked as a feature poet, so that sounds good to you, which it should. I write in a lot of different genres. So Rose_Gold, 3333 on Instagram.
All
And that'll
right.
link you to my Facebook and my TikTok as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, what can we look forward to you coming doing next?
In the future,
Yes, what's you have in the future?
I am definitely growing as a spoken word artist.
Okay.
I definitely want to record some of my poetry, perform more as a feature poet, and grow BTIC to be. I want trauma recovery and BTIC to be a model similar to AA. I want BTIC to be replicated in every community possible. That's
Awesome,
my North Star.
awesome. And you are working with young adults,
Oh, everybody.
everybody. Okay.
So,
Are
young
you in the
adults.
school systems, or where do you do this at?
So we're really new,
Okay.
right? So we're building the infrastructure and opportunities to be able to go into the school systems.
Okay.
But right now we're concentrating the Buckeye Woodhill footprint, so we can get our model there, and then we can be able to transfer it to the schools and make adjustments as necessary.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Rose, I really want to thank you for doing the work in our community, getting it started, being an advocate out here. And if someone wants to join in, and how can one become an advocate
Oh,
besides just, talking?
use your voice.
Yes.
Also, writing is a great way. When I lost heat recently in my apartment, and I had to remember that I had available resources. I had Shaker Square Alliance, right?
Okay.
Mary Boyle really advocated on my behalf as well. Funny story. I kept running into Mary Boyle, and I said every time I ran into her, I said her name just sounded so familiar to me. So the third time I said, Mary Boyle. I said, my dad was Roland Carter. She said, he passed not too long ago. I said, I met you. You were running for office, and my dad endorsed you. And I remember back then that a woman running for office was a big deal.
Okay.
And now I get to work for her. Use your voice.
Awesome.
Join. I believe in the power of community. I think if any meaningful work is going to be done, it's going to be on the community and local level. So look for community organizations like Neighbor Up, or
Okay.
even New Era Cleveland. There would be all those organizations would be great organizations to have. NEOC, Northeast Ohio Coalition for the Homeless, headed up by Josiah Quarles.
Okay.
There are a lot of community organizations that are doing the work of community.
Awesome. So now, with that being said, I think that instead of always looking for someplace to run or complain about what's going on in your community, get involved, become an advocate, be a part of the change.
Definitely.
Yes, indeed. So, with that being said, we want to thank you, Rose Gold Carter, for being our guest today. And Rose, I tell you, keep inspiring and making a difference in our community.
Thank you, I shall.
All right, awesome. And come out and check her out at the Umbar, which is located.
Oh, wow, I do not have the dress, but it's on Larchmere, in the heart of the Larchmere community.
Yes.
Bar Cafe.
All righty. She'll see you on Monday. Come join us. Thanks for watching. Join us every